Demon Girl Next Door series overview. I love this series dearly. The time hath come, Tokiwaki ta. For a passionate post, one of my favorite series, Demon Girl Next Door / Machikado Mazoku. I just want to say right away that I adore the series, and I am largely just bringing up positives. This is a gushing post that ended up being super long and is still the longest thing I've ever written. And a reminder that my writing isn't meant to be all encompassing and describe the show in every detail. So if there's something I mentioned about the show that intrigues you, you should really check it out on your own. And I have succeeded in life if I have encouraged even a single person to read Demon Girl Next Door. This will contain very heavy, direct spoilers. I don't bring up every single aspect of the plot and the characters, but I bring up many of them. Demon Girl Next Door is incredibly dense, despite how it seems on the surface. The show is so much more than just goofy, wholesome fun. When it comes to dumb but cute moe derpy characters, I think Shamiko is the best character of this archetype. She has plenty of personality aside from that, and grows to be a nuanced and fleshed out character who is endearing for more than just being cute. Some stupid characters feel like they only exist to be stupid for gags. They generally don't seem like they can function as a human being on their own, to the point of feeling they could be offensive portrayals of mental retardation when you get to the most extreme forms of this type of character. But Shamiko is very well rounded. She is not just a character who is dumb. Her lack of smarts and common sense does actually have some explanation too. You learn that the curse on Shamiko's family has had a physical effect as well. Shamiko spent most of her childhood in intensive care at a hospital, her physical issues exacerbated by the curse. And Shamiko was not just taking on her portion of the curse. Her soul had chosen to take on Ryo's portion of the curse as well. Before she awakened to her demon heritage, she wasn't even able to walk through her school without collapsing. She was not able to get a proper education very well before the start of the series. She had less opportunities than most get for normal experiences. She also had little capacity to be physically active, which gives more reason to her being pathetically weak than just because they wanted to have jokes of her being physically incapable. The strength of writing just gets better as the series goes on, because we see her develop into a character that is less incompetent and less physically weak. Rather than riding on those same failure jokes, we actually see Shamiko develop into a character who is capable. She manages to defeat a magical creature on her own. Sakura, the character who set up the whole town and is the most important main character in the overall story, basically passes the torch of being the town's caretaker onto her. She is the leader of the operation and successfully uses her abilities to remove Mikan's curse and save Ugalu. She starts out the series as incompetent and capable of very little, being liked but looked down on by most of the cast. She grows to be respected by everyone, to the point where Momo and Mikan eventually do consider themselves her minions. She truly grows from a dumb and unconfident little girl into a leader that very capable people like Momo and Mikan see as an equal. She grows mentally as well as physically. She gets access to more magical abilities, she gets less physically unwell, and she gets more confident in herself. Ryo, her sister, is shown to be very smart, which makes sense in comparison to Shamiko because she was healthy enough to be in school. And she is not just naturally smart, she actually has the drive to be smarter as she wants to support her sister, which you can say is her wanting to support Shamiko in return for how Shamiko took on her portion of the curse. Ryo stands out more than just the smart child archetype she fits into. GGNT is filled with details like this that elevates even the minor characters into more than just archetypes. Shamiko still has the motivation to win and get stronger, but she realizes intentionally hurting Momo or another magical girl isn't the way she wants to go about it. And she doesn't want Momo to hurt herself to get her blood either. Especially when we learn from the accidental blood offering, the result of using blood to lift the curse permanently weakened Momo, which by reading into subtext, you realize means she lost mana, which according to the way they describe magical girls in this universe is her entire existence. This is one specific example of how dark subject matter is present in a generally goofy and bubbly story. Now, I can't talk about Demon Girl Next Door without talking about Shamiko and Momo's dynamic. It's the crux of the series and its strongest appeal. Their rivalry quickly develops into basically being a roleplay bit between the two. It changes from Shamiko wanting to physically beat Momo to effectively wanting to emotionally overtake her. She wants to be respected by Momo and make Momo into her vassal. It still has the original intention of making Momo submit to her, but in a more intimate and consensual way. It doesn't feel like the idea of defeating Momo in battle was forgotten. It feels like Shamiko's goals and motivations naturally changed as the story went on. You really buy into Shamiko and Momo's friendship because we get so much time spent with them together. There are other characters who are important and get screen time, but Shami Momo is the focal point. DG&D is legitimately the only ship I truly care about in all of anime. Because Shamiko and Momo, they are just a perfect couple. Their personalities mesh so perfectly. The simplest way to describe them is tsundere x kudere. I really want to put emphasis on me, someone who has never cared for shipping at all throughout my entire life, is ridiculously into this one ship. I live for cute fan art of them together. They have so many cute and funny interactions. The way their personalities flip on the stereotypes of a demon and magical girl are very good and really helps build this unique dynamic that they have. Shamiko is incredibly pure, always wanting to help people and find a peaceful solution. On the other hand, Momo is fairly dark in the way she thinks, being more conniving and directly confrontational when a serious situation comes up. There's so many situations where the series has very obvious romantic subtext, and I personally fully buy into it. It works so well. It's romantic as fuck. I also think their dynamic is written very well, because you don't have to interpret their relationship as romantic. You can see it as just very close friends. Or you can see them as having a sisterly bond, having the report of both argumentative and caring, similar to how I've heard people describe sisters. The idea of Momo's sister's core literally being in Shamiko also lends some credence to this interpretation. Do I think they're actually going to be in a romantic relationship by the end of the series? Probably not. But that doesn't mean this is trashy gay baiting. I think it being up to interpretation is fine and great when it's backed up by good writing. And here it absolutely is. And even though I made the point that you could see it as unromantic, I personally can't. Just to give one example, Shamiko learns about the vassal contract, aka demon marriage, that her mom and dad went through, and then immediately goes to Momo and says that she should be her vassal. That scene has very obvious romantic intention, and you really can't deny that. And this moment is not just some one-off thing to get the Yuri fans going again. The idea of Momo becoming Shamiko's vassal is very important going forward from there in the story. I just absolutely love these two as a couple. They have hilarious back and forths, their personalities mesh well, their concepts work really well with them. We see their growing understanding. They can be adorably possessive of each other. There's just so much endearing and charming about their dynamic. I can finally understand how people who are super into shipping can feel. This is the first series to give me that. All of the characters are at least enjoyable in some way, but the heart of the show is the main duo. And the show never really tries to go against that. If you don't ship Shamiko and Momo, that's fine. But to me, it never really presents anyone else as being shippable other than Mikan. And it's very clear that isn't something the show itself is pushing. To quickly go on about other core characters, Lilith is really great. She's really cute and has a lot of funny jokes. Later on, she ends up spending less time being the butt of jokes and is generally very helpful. Similar to Shamiko, no one is just a gag character. No one is like just degraded for the sake of jokes. Ryo, as I previously mentioned, is cute, and her relationship with her sisters really nice. Mikan is really great and gets a lot of personality and more to do in season 2. Shamiko's mom has some really funny moments and has an interesting role and perspective. Henri is really funny and a great goofball friend. Liko is a funny addition who grew on me a lot. Shirasawa has some funny moments and works great as a straight man to Liko's shenanigans, as well as actually being the only male character in the show that has any relevance. Shion was my least favorite at first, but she also gets a lot to do later and gets more characterized than just a cult plus science girl. And as the series has gone on, the side characters really just get plenty of attention to, and just overall the characters are just fantastic. Demon Girl Next Door has a much larger and overarching story than most cute, wholesome shows do, and it's also written very well. It seems like this would be a mostly episodic, cute event of the week kind of story, but it's got a story that's actually pretty heavy and has very consistent and well thought out continuity. Story details are spread out well, dripped in between various normal moments in the show. There are constantly little hits being thrown around about the history and background elements. A lot of things that initially seem just like gags actually end up being relevant to a later scene or the overall story. There are a lot of visual details that end up being used later as well. The story resonates very strongly because the characters are deeply involved in it. A simple story for this could have been an evil threat enters a peaceful town and Shamiko and crew need to stop it with some random villain. Instead, everyone is relevant. Shamako's father is involved. Momo's sister is involved. Shamako being in the hospital is involved. The town and the characters in it really feel like they have history. And that history is very important to them and to the story. And the story does have a lot of dark elements to it. I really like how this very positive and upbeat series has these serious and dark accents that help to balance it out and makes it much more engrossing. It's a very good mix of goofy with enough dark and dramatic elements to make you pause and think seriously about what's going on every once in a while, especially later. The show managed to have plenty of simple episodic bits where it's just the characters being cute and having fun, but not too often or lacking little bits that remind you that there's a serious story and deeper issues. The story generally just continues being interesting and engaging, and it never really dips. There are lots of mysteries that you really want to get to know the answer to. One particular moment I really like that shows like the forward thinking is from episode 12 of the anime when Shamako, Momo, and Lilith are talking about Shamako getting Momo as her vassal. Lilith says, if you fall to darkness, we'll redesign your battle form with a simple black as the base. This just seems like a joke in the moment since they're calling how Momo is much more like a demon and should fall to darkness, hence the color black, by becoming Shamako's vassal. Later on, this is actually exactly what happens, despite Momo declining becoming her vassal. But even if you did immediately think this is foreshadowing, when it does come back, it's not exactly how or when you would expect it. So it's interesting and surprising whether you assumed it's foreshadowing or not. This is just one of many moments in a more direct one where something you expect to just be a joke that's just said in a second ends up actually being an important detail later that gets revisited. A truly unique aspect of the town is how demons and magical girls are set up not to interact with each other. That is in order to apparently keep the peace. Shamako is able to transcend this because she has Sakura's core. So she is the only one who can unite all the magical people in town in order to figure things out and protect the town. I really like this detail and is, again, things that keep all these little details intertwining with the story and with the characters. It's all just very fluid and well structured. To compare Demon Girl Next Door to another one of my favorite series, the town of G&D feels similar to Morio of JoJo Part 4. Over time, we spend so much time getting to know different places and people in their respective towns that it grows into a place that you can really believe exists. You see all the moving parts and the areas that make it function. You can imagine where people go and what they do outside of what's directly on screen. This is what's required to make a fully realized setting of a story, and as a result, makes the story very engrossing, makes the series as a whole very engrossing. Reaching this should be the main goal of a series that has a static setting, and I feel both shows excel at this. There's so much well-written, slow growth in this series. Shamako and Momo opening up to each other, Shamako growing more capable, Lilith being able to interact more, the characters learning about the history of the town. This slow growth of all these different aspects of the story is very satisfying and feels very natural, being distributed very well throughout the story. Where many stories rely on big lore dumps, Demon Girl Next Door never has this problem because of how well details are parceled throughout the series. Momo starts out as a very taciturn character you don't know much about. Momo never goes on some long rant about her entire sad backstory in one moment. That isn't necessary because if you pay attention during the dialogue, you can get all of it in a more natural way, or at least most of it, as it comes out organically through her conversations with Shamiko and other characters, and when the story actually demands that information. She doesn't need to directly say that she's depressed, because you can figure out that bad things went down from little moments in her conversation. The writing is not lazy and does not treat the viewer like they're dumb. It gives you the opportunity to speculate and figure things out yourself, then later when it makes sense for the characters to be direct, then they clarify things. Putting great writing aside, for just a moment, the show is just so cute and wholesome. So many moments of the characters just getting along and having fun together are super endearing. The show is just so charming and makes you smile. D&D is also very funny. Shamiko and Momo's rapport is hilarious, especially at the beginning when they're more at odds. And then later, it's really great because then you see their dynamic grow but still be really funny as it changes. There's tons of weird little gags, like puns and random goofy things. All over you can see little visual gags, like text on an object or a random goofy item. Demon Girl Next Door has an openly goofy tone that it presents very confidently. One recurring joke that's really funny is how all the normal people react very tamely to all the magical stuff that goes on. There's a good mix of different kinds of jokes. There are also lots of gags parodying magical girls. I mentioned how I like how it has a negative perspective of magical girls to balance the positive aspects. The show continues to be very balanced by having magical girl parody, as well as unironically cool magical girl things, such as the transformations. It does its silly moments in good ways. It's goofy, but doesn't do it too much and make it feel like it's random just for the sake of it. The anime mixes goofiness along with the story perfectly, in my opinion. I absolutely love the tone of the series. There isn't exactly a ton of serious life messages, but there's lots of nice stuff about societal expectations and getting along with people. When it comes to the magical society, it's very clearly anti-segregation and anti-stereotyping based on race. The show has the philosophy of finding joy in the little things that you see in a lot of Japanese media, such as the very poor Shamiko family still remaining happy, enjoying what they can in their situation thanks to the curse. I've always vibed with this perspective, and I really like how it's portrayed here. DGD is not the best looking show visually in the animation department, but it is great where it matters, and the weaker parts are often played as a strength. The art is generally good, but the animation is very limited. But especially in season 1, the limited visuals are played very well. Whether it's the magical girl transformation still looking very good, or using limited animation to do the funny gags, like the gif you probably saw even if you didn't watch the show back when it first came out, where they just wiggle around the static image of Shamiko yelling. In my opinion, the limited animation really doesn't hurt the visual experience because of how well they used it. And in season 2, the visuals get a lot better. All the magical transformations are really good. When it comes to the visuals, I think the coloring as well is also really great in the anime. And there's one visual aspect of GG&D that takes a lot of extra effort, which is the character designs. One visually distinct thing that elevates DG&D above a lot of anime is the number of outfits that the main characters have. It adds so much more personality to the characters. They feel so much more alive because it feels like they actually have a closet full of clothes. There's so much more effort put into the character design. So many series just have the characters in a singular outfit 99% of the time, and maybe for a special episode of each episode, whatever, maybe you get a different one, which is understandable because that's easier to draw and replicate. But you can make them feel more like a character that only exists for that singular thing. They feel like a much more static character when they just have that one outfit. Characters only shown in combat outfits are hard to imagine in other scenarios when they're not on the battlefield. With school uniforms, it's hard to imagine them without them. But with Demon Girl Next Door, the number of outfits we get for the characters makes it easy to imagine them in a variety of situations. They feel like they have lives because they have all the outfits they would for people who have normal lives. Sometimes shows feel like time stops in between what we as the audience see. Like the characters don't have lives outside of what we see. But Demon Girl Next Door in multiple ways avoids this issue due to its character design and other details. Which for me, this is an incredibly important point. I absolutely love this aspect of the show, and wish more shows did this. I have a lot more respect for the art and for the original author because of this point. And this is just another thing that helps make the town feel more lived in, and the characters feel more like real people. Another specific character design aspect that's done very well is Shamiko's tail. Her tail is incredibly expressive and constantly moving and changing. It portrays a lot of her emotions and is a thing for us and also the characters in the show to react to. I love the characters, primarily Momo, reacting to Shamiko's tail expressions. It really shows how Momo pays attention to Shamiko and makes the characters feel more like they have actual spatial awareness for what's going on. I think that's important to bring up because I feel like often shows can make characters appear to only see or hear what the writing allows them to in a questionable way, if that makes sense. Verbal examples of this is when a character says half a sentence before getting cut off, and everyone acts like they heard nothing at all. The anime portrays the tale well, and further make Shamiko a very expressive and an interesting character to watch, while also elevating the overall set pieces and the presence of the characters. And the main character being very expressive and interesting to watch is a very important thing to have. And that's one aspect, as I've said, where Demon Girl Next Door excels. Shamiko is a fantastic character in really all ways. Yeah, while there can be limited animation, it still succeeds at making the characters be very expressive. There are tons of great faces that like keeps you want to screenshot and use as like crops and stuff like that, and as like reaction images. I really like doing that. I also like all the openings and endings. One thing that's nice about them is that they don't directly spoil anything like many openings tend to, but do have little things that can make you go, oh, I know what that creature is, or I get that point now. They're going to be very expressive and give you like great visuals without spoiling things. Now to the sound design, which is absolutely immaculate. The anime has the best sound effects of anything I've watched, I think I would say outside of JoJo. There are so many great goofy sound effects that add to the characters' reactions. My favorite has to be the train whistle toy that they use when Shamiko or Lilith's angry. The sound effects further add to how expressive the characters feel. The creators of the anime clearly had a ton of fun doing the sound design, and it really comes through. It's a fun, goofy soundtrack for a fun and goofy show. It just perfectly fits with the tone. The music is also very good as a whole. I usually don't pay a ton of attention to background music, but I'm obsessed with DG&D, so I do here. I think the BGM fits well with the setting. They sound very magical and fantastical, while also sounding modern, which fits with the overall modern city aesthetic. It's very peppy and you get high energy, like with Shamiko's strong reactions, while also being lower and more contemplative during the slower moments. And it can be sad when it needs to as well. I'm not great at describing good music because like I'm not a huge person who on music and having a lot of musical theory knowledge, so I'll just say it's far above average in my opinion. If I had to pick a favorite track, it's Shamiko's transformation theme. And again, to just keep heaping on the praise, the voice acting, I'm not speaking for the dub, I'm just not speaking for the English dub, I'm just speaking for the Japanese because that's my preferred. The voice acting is fantastic. Of course, Konomi Kohara is absolutely amazing as Shamiko. She's my favorite voice actress, and this is one of the reasons, the main reason why. But she's fantastic in all her roles. She is the master of cute anime girl noises and gives so much energy in her performance. She brings out Shamiko's very wide range of emotions and strong reactions and her mannerisms very well. Momo's voice acting is also extremely good. The soft but dual voice perfectly fits Momo's character. All around, the voice acting is excellent for everyone, but the main two really have their personalities on full display from the voice acting. When it comes to the anime versus manga, I do like the manga, but the voice acting, soundtrack, and anime editions add so much to me. I have to recommend the anime over the manga. But if you are more sensitive to anime girl noises type of thing and find it annoying, then maybe you'll enjoy the manga more if you're not into that type of voice acting. If you don't want to like look up anything for yourself, if you've seen Chika from no Kaguya-sama Love is War, that's the same Japanese voice actor. So each individual aspect of this show is strong. The characters in the world are very dense and endearing with great drama and emotion behind them that you really wouldn't expect to see. If you're into light romances, you will very much adore the very sweet relationship between Shamiko and Momo. If you enjoy light fantasy, then I think DG&D provides a unique world with interesting interpretations of magical girls and demons. If you just like comedies, DG&D will keep you laughing constantly with its silly gags. If you enjoy a detailed story that builds over time, then you should really enjoy this story. If you just want cute girls doing cute and wholesome things, there's plenty of it here. I would really recommend this series to anyone unless you're just a non-stop action type of person. So yeah, I absolutely adore this series. It's very close to my heart. It's in my top favorites and is my like #1 comfort show. Fan of DG&D never fails to make me feel a little happier. I love this goofy world and its endearing characters. I love the complex and constantly developing story. I love the wholesomeness with the dark flavors behind it. I had a ton of fun writing this one. It brought me a lot of joy getting back into the nitty gritty of the series. I wrote a ton of it and spent way more time on it than anything else that I've written so far. Even still now, as of recording this. Yeah, I really put a lot into this one. I really hope I've been able to properly convey my passion for this series because my passion for this really is dwarfed by little else. So I want to end this by wishing the absolute best to Izumo Ito, the author of GG&D, who has been combating a lot of health issues. She's doing a lot better now as of recording this, but still, if you know Team Real Next Door, you know that the manga chapter releases are fairly slow, largely thanks to her health. So I just want to give all my love and respect to her and thank her for all the hard work she's done to make this series as amazing as it is. Thank you very much for watching, and please check out Team Real Next Door if you got through all of this without watching or reading it yourself. And if you love this series as well, I will continue to make content both on my blog and do audio versions of it because I absolutely love this series and I will never stop talking about it. So thank you very much for watching. Follow and subscribe on my blog and on here if you want to see more Demon Girl Next Door related stuff. Thank you.